Hello and welcome. Celebrating success has never been as important as it is right now. We're coming to you from a lively UCD University Club on the Belfield campus. Now, it's great. The students are back on campus, so if you hear any background noise, pay no attention. We're here to celebrate 9 inspirational UCD alumni who have achieved great success on the world stage. And we're delighted to welcome you, our global alumni community from across the world, to this very special virtual edition of the 8th UCD Alumni Awards. We're going to hear from 9 of UCD's most notable alumni who showcase the breadth and the depth of UCD's leading programs. Shortly, UCD President, Professor Andrew Deeks, will say a few words. This will be followed by conversations with each of the awardees and some highlights from the deans of their colleges, schools and units. Don't forget, please share on Twitter using hashtag UCD Alumni Awards 2021. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce the UCD President, Professor Andrew J. Deeks.
Good evening, everyone. It's my great pleasure as President of UCD to welcome you to this virtual celebration of the 2021 UCD Alumni Awards. Traditionally, we would have gathered together in O'Reilly Hall to celebrate our awardees at a black tie ceremony with an audience of alumni, friends and staff of UCD. At this evening's virtual event, we are gathering in spirit to celebrate the accomplishments of our 9 Inspirational Award recipients for 2021, who showcase the breadth and depth of our leading academic programs. On behalf of the University, I offer our warmest congratulations to this year's awardees, all of whom have made an exceptional contribution to their chosen field. We are immensely proud to count you as alumni of UCD and to honour your achievements. At home and abroad, you uphold the values that are embedded in the DNA of our university: excellence, integrity, collegiality, engagement, diversity and creativity. The success of the Alumni Awards shows that the UCD network is thriving, influential and truly international. It's a reminder to the university's current student population that the benefits of studying at UCD can last a lifetime. As students, our alumni made lifelong connections with their classmates and with this institution. The UCD Alumni Awards celebrate this connection and are a testament to just how important our alumni are to us. We have all felt the burden of the past 18 months. The pandemic has disrupted our normal lives and derailed many of our plans and social activities. Yet the strength of the human spirit prevails, and this evening's event is a reminder of how we have found new ways to connect and support one another despite the challenges. On this special occasion, I extend my sincere thanks to our academic leaders, corporate partners, philanthropic supporters, alumni and friends for their unwavering commitment to UCD. Through their support, UCD continues to provide a world-class student experience that prepares our students to take their place in today's global society. Finally, I would like to finish by once again congratulating our 9 honorees this evening. You are an inspiration to the next generation of students and faculty and other alumni around the world, and we are so proud of every one of you. Thank you, and I will now pass back to Pat Kenny.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Well, now let me introduce the 9 2021 UCD Alumni Award winners. Neil Jordan, the Alumni Award winner in Arts and Humanities. Olivia Maguire, the Alumni Award winner in Business. Liam Madden, the Alumni Award winner in Engineering and Architecture. Dr. Mike Ryan, the Alumni Award winner in Health and Agricultural Sciences. Fiona McEntee, the Alumni Award winner in Law. Professor Teresa Lamb, the Alumni Award winner in Science. Anne O'Dea, the Alumni Award winner in Research, Innovation and Impact. Katrina Palmer, the Alumni Award winner in Social Sciences. And Leo Cullen, the Alumni Award winner in Sport. Our first UCD Alumni Award recipient is Neil Jordan, a student of Irish history and English literature at UCD. Neil graduated in 1972 and he's gone on to become a prolific and successful author and one of Ireland's most decorated and enduringly popular filmmakers. Neil is known for writing and directing an eclectic array of films, both in Ireland and internationally, since the early 1980s. His themes range from the political to the fantasy, and Neil is also celebrated for writing memorable characters and drawing out award-worthy performances from his cast. Let's hear from Professor John Branigan about his awardee.
The recipient of the UCD Alumni Awards in Arts and Humanities this year is the award-winning writer and film director Neil Jordan. He's won an Oscar for Best Screenplay, he's won BAFTA Awards and Golden Globes. And what's most notable, I think, about Neil Jordan as both a writer and a filmmaker is how original and distinctive his work has been. And for that reason, I think he's a real inspiration to creative artists. In addition to that, he of course has been a wonderful ambassador for UCD with the Creative Futures Academy. So I'm very happy that Neil Jordan is the recipient of the UCD Alumni Awards this year in the Arts and Humanities.
Thank you very much, John. Now, unfortunately, Neil is unable to join us on campus this evening as he's making a movie in Barcelona at the moment. But Neil does join me from that Catalan city. Neil, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you, UCD. Thank you, everybody there.
Now, what was your time like in UCD? Did you enjoy it or not?
I really enjoyed my time there, I have to say. You know, it was the first time I began to take, the whole process of learning and intellectual pursuits seriously.
Did you have any ambitions to do what you did, which was to become a novelist and then a filmmaker? Was that on your horizon at all at that point?
Well, the only thing I ever wanted to do was write, but I thought, I just thought I would never get to do that kind of thing, but, I studied literature under a series of great professors, Dennis Donoghue and Seamus Dean and Augustine Martin, and I also studied history. I got involved in the Drama Society with Jim Sheridan, and we together kind of mounted a few very large productions in, through that society. So it was incredibly inventive, invigorating, and kind of scrappy.
But there were no role models for filmmakers. So for you, you were one of the great pioneers of modern Irish cinema.
Yeah, I know, it's bizarre, isn't it? I mean, there was no film school in Ireland. There were no film departments in the various, branches of the humanities. But I mean, I just really loved the environment and the atmosphere of, exploration of thought and ideas. And even though it was quite a conservative place at the time, UCD, there were wonderful mentors.
What advice would you give to someone, like you, who doesn't maybe have a background in anything, but has a wish, a desire, an ambition to do something that seems impossible?
The great experience I had in college was that actually it didn't seem to be designed towards any particular professional end at all, and I thought that was quite magical and wonderful. The fact that you were in this space for about 4 years where you basically, you went where your interest took you. And actually I still kind of think an academic environment should be one that is exploring and very old-fashioned thing, knowledge for its own sake and the exploration of knowledge for its own sake, We hadn't a clue what we were going to do. We were just excited by ideas, really,
Finally, Neil, I should ask you, what does it mean to you to get this award, the Alumni Award, from your old alma mater?
I'm very honoured to receive it and to be given it, and thank you to everybody who gave it to me. Any time I go back to UCD to give lectures or to talk about my movies and stuff like that, it's always a thrilling experience. So thank you very much.
Neil Jordan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Pat.
The recipient of the 2021 UCD Alumni Award in Business is Olivia Maguire. A native of Dublin, Olivia is joining us from London. She moved there in 1998 after completing a Bachelor of Commerce degree at UCD and a Master of Business Studies at the UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. Olivia is a money market portfolio manager with JP Morgan Asset Management in London. She manages some $45 billion worth of assets every day, which she describes as being on the lower risk end of the scale. So what does high risk look like? Highly regarded within the finance industry, Olivia was named number 16 in Yahoo Finance's Top 100 Female Future Leaders 2020. She was Woman in Finance Wealth Manager of the Year in 2020 and Women in Investment Fund Manager of the Year in 2019. But before we join Olivia, allow me to introduce Professor Tony Brabazon, the UCD Dean of Business, to tell us about his awardee.
I'm delighted to announce that the recipient of the 2021 UCD Alumni Award in Business is Olivia Maguire. An expert in short-term fixed income markets, Olivia is also a key member of several Bank of England committees, notably including the Bank of England Money Market Committee. Beyond her career achievements, Olivia has a passion for social responsibility and has championed a wide range of projects including early childhood support and community volunteering initiatives. Olivia is a proud alumna of UCD, and through her actions and accomplishments, she is an empowering role model for all members of the UCD community. Congratulations, Olivia.
Thank you very much, Tony. Now will you welcome from London the 2021 UCD Alumni Awardee in Business, Olivia Maguire. Olivia, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Pat. It's really nice to be here.
Now, tell me about how UCD prepared you for this high-pressure job of managing some $45 billion worth of assets every single day.
It was the beginning of a lifelong journey, really, from UCD, especially Carysford and the Smurfit Business School, where I lived on residence. That was a really great place to set me up for London because the diversity of the people that I met there. So, a lot of the things that I learned throughout my career and through my master's have really stood to me. I think it was a really great place to set me up.
So tell me this, Olivia. As a child, did you save or spend your pocket money?
I was a big saver and I used to lend it out to my siblings if they needed it.
I should ask you about your advice to students either at the Michael Smurfit Business School at UCD or those who are studying business in the university itself. Your advice? Just
stepping out into the real world, into a job, is daunting no matter where you're doing it, and especially if you're moving away from home. But be brave, be true to yourself, take leaps of faith, enjoy what you do. That's really important. Try and be in a place that you're enjoying what you're doing, you're enjoying the team around you, and that you're having fun. When you're starting your career, when you're in university, it is a time to get to know yourself, to have fun and to spread your wings and get some of those great experiences underneath your belt, meeting lots of different people, learning from them, learning from their cultures, learning from their experiences.
So finally, what does this Alumni Award mean to you?
It's such a big honor to be awarded this in 2021. When I saw the list of other awardees that I was alongside, I was so humbled. It's hopefully going to inspire the next generation of students, those who have just graduated, those who are just starting, those who are in the middle of their degrees, to do great things once they leave the university. And hopefully I can be a role model for that to them, and that they will follow in the footsteps of all the awardees over this year and over the last few years.
Well, Olivia, congratulations once again, and thank you very much for joining us from London.
Thank you very much, Pat. It's really lovely to be here.
Our next recipient, Liam Madden, is at the helm of the wired and wireless group at Xilinx, where he drives the company's communications business and has positioned Xilinx as the platform of choice in wired and wireless applications. Having terrorized his family with the things he built as a child, he's become one of the so-called chip leaders in Silicon Valley. Let's hear from Professor Aoife Ahern, the UCD Dean of Engineering.
Liam Madden is the UCD Alumni Award winner in College of Engineering and Architecture in 2021. We have chosen Liam as our award winner this year because of his contributions to engineering and in particular his contributions to the semiconductor industry. But we are also recognising Liam for his contribution to UCD engineering and in particular to electronics engineering in UCD. Liam has worked on research projects and developed patents with many of our faculty and is a role model to our students, showing how industry involvement and involvement in cutting-edge research can be combined. He leads an extensive group of engineering professionals and marketing professionals and sales professionals based all over the world, including teams in Cork and Dublin. We are delighted to have Liam Madden as our recipient this year, and I am delighted to give him my congratulations on receiving this award.
Thank you very much, Aoife. Well, now it's a big welcome from San Francisco to the UCD Alumni Award winner in Engineering and Architecture, Liam Madden. Welcome, Liam.
Hi, Pat. Very nice to talk to you.
First of all, congratulations on the award. What does it mean to you?
Well, you know, I'm just incredibly honored to have been recognized by UCD and, of course, by the department. You know, I've been really lucky, I guess, in the last 10 years. It's been quite a while since I graduated, but I've been very lucky to have interacted with UCD over the last 10 years because in that period, I became responsible for an engineering group in Dublin, but I also was on the board of Science Foundation Ireland. And so I spent more time in Ireland than I did in the previous 30 years. And I've just been immensely impressed with what UCD has achieved. But despite all that, I think UCD has also maintained its sense of community. So to receive this honor from UCD is really amazing.
What was it like in the engineering department in UCD in those days? I mean, did you have the kind of equipment that you needed, or did you have to beg, borrow, and steal?
Yeah, I would say sometimes we had to cobble things together, but you know, it was amazing what the faculty were capable of in those days. My own mentor, Jim Lacey, I know at the time was building electric cars in the basement at that time. So, you know, it was a really just interesting and it was an exciting time as well.
So when you went to the United States, did you feel well equipped from your experience in UCD to embark on science there?
You know, when I thought about it, you know, really the thing that UCD taught me was sort of how to learn. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that a university does for you. And so as a result of that, you know, I had to pick up quite a lot on the job. I also went back to graduate school, actually a little bit later, not immediately. I attended graduate school in Cornell in upstate New York. And what I found was, again, the fundamentals I learned with UCD stood by me, even though a lot of the technology that I was learning about was very advanced at that time.
Is there any particular thing in your career in chip development that you're most proud of?
You know, the main thing that I think about and that I'm most proud of is some of the people that I've mentored in that period of time. You know, if you have an iPhone or have had an iPhone, the application processor in that product has been designed and managed by someone I mentored for the last, you know, 12 years. He's been responsible for that. So, you know, being involved with, you know, really bright engineers has been the main thing that I remember. And it's probably one of the things that I still get huge satisfaction out of.
Now, what do you say to those students of engineering here in UCD? What would you say to them?
What I would say is, you know, be open to learning a lot of new things. But also, you know, as I said again, the fundamentals are really important. That will stand by you for the length of your career.
Liam Madden, congratulations once again, and thank you very much for joining us from San Francisco.
Thanks very much, Pat.
Our next awardee needs absolutely no introduction. A native of Sligo and Mayo, Dr. Mike Ryan has led the global response to COVID-19 through his role as Executive Director of the WHO's Health Emergencies Programme. He's been a national and international leading light over the past 2 years as the world comes to terms with the pandemic, leading the team responsible for the international readiness and response to COVID-19. But his work with COVID is the tip of the iceberg. He joined the WHO in 1996 in a newly formed unit focusing on epidemics and emerging diseases. Using this experience, he helped in developing new approaches and mechanisms for responding to epidemics like the Global Outbreak Alert and Response Network. Mike is a tremendous ambassador for Irish medicine and Irish medical training on the international stage, and he's a tireless advocate for an overarching strategy for global vaccination. For decades, he's been at the forefront of managing acute risk on a global scale. But before we meet Mike, let me introduce the principal of the College of Health and Agricultural Science, Professor Cecily Kelleher.
We are celebrating Dr. Mike Ryan, who has become a household name, not just in Ireland, but across the world, for his part in the response to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Mike is currently Executive Director of the World Health Organization's Health Emergencies Programme and is a truly worthy recipient of our UCD Alumni Award. He has had a leading role in the WHO's response to the SARS outbreak in 2003 and the Polio Eradication Initiative from 2013 to 17. He has been a tireless advocate also for a fair share in COVID-19 vaccines across the world. Congratulations, Mike, and thank you truly for all you have been and are continuing to do.
Thank you very much, Cecily. Will you welcome now the 2021 UCD Alumni Award winner in Health and Agricultural Science from Geneva, Dr. Mike Ryan. Mike, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much, Pat.
When you cast your mind back to UCD, I bet there was no way you could have foreseen that your medical career would take you in this direction.
No, and yeah, it's sliding doors. I'm sure it's the same for you, Pat, and many other people. Everyone thinks there was a big master plan and, you must have planned this all the way through, and nothing could be further from the truth. I was very lucky to come to UCD. Actually, it was Cecily Kelleher, who was then in Galway, who sort of took me in and helping with some community surveys. And Cecily said, you're not so bad at this, Mike. Maybe you should go and do a master's in public health in UCD. I have a lot to thank Cecily for, not only for what she does in UCD, but for the opportunity she gave me and the mentoring she gave me. In many ways, UCD was the moment at which I transitioned from one career to the other, and it gave me the basis to put my life and my career back on track. Because it's tough to switch careers. It's tough to change track when you're so committed to going down one track, and you can feel very resentful and very unlucky that all of this future has been taken away from you. Sometimes you need calm and smart people to guide you back.
What advice, therefore, would you have for the medical school undergraduates at the moment?
We've all got to pursue our scientific objectives and our learning objectives, and we've got to get our degrees, and we've got to learn the craft. But I would just say, looking at this pandemic and everything we do, is not to forget the individual, not to forget that patient who sits in front of you. We serve them. We talk in percentages, and we talk in numbers, and we talk in incidence, and we talk in survival rates. Just don't forget that you're primarily there to serve citizens and to serve people. And each and every individual comes to you with a unique background, a unique history. We need to use the voice of the medical and scientific community, not only to innovate, but we also need to speak up on behalf of the people that we serve.
This Alumni Award, what does it mean to you to be reminded once again of your time in UCD?
What's nice for me personally, I think there are huge numbers of Irish graduates and Irish people abroad, our peacekeepers, people who work at NGOs, people who work in international science and medicine all over the world, a global tribe. Sometimes we don't feel as connected, we don't feel as valued in our home country. This award is for not just for me, but for all of those Irish people who work abroad in the service of humanity.
Dr. Mike Ryan in Geneva, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Pat.
The recipient of the UCD Alumni Award in Law is a very busy individual. An entrepreneur, a writer and a lawyer, she's currently working on something like 45 pro bono cases as she supports Afghans who, following the Taliban's seizure of power after 20 years of conflict, are now trying to leave Afghanistan. She has won many awards and honours. In 2019, Fiona was inducted into the Irish American Hall of Fame in the Irish American Heritage Centre. Now, in a moment, we'll talk to Fiona, but first, let me introduce Dr. Niamh Howlin, Dean of UCD's Sutherland School of Law.
The recipient of the UCD Alumni Award in Law for this year is Fiona McEntee. Fiona is the founder and the managing attorney of McEntee Law Group based in Chicago. In her work as an immigration lawyer, Fiona deals with people from all over the world and the circumstances that have led them to migrate to the United States. She's also a very prominent spokesperson on immigration matters in the American media. In the last year, Fiona has also authored her first book, which is a children's book called Our American Dream, which deals with the issues arising out of migration. I'd like to warmly congratulate Fiona on being the recipient of this year's UCD Alumni Award in Law.
Thank you very much, Niamh. Well, joining us now from Chicago, UCD Alumni Award winner in law, Fiona McEntee. Fiona, you're very welcome.
Thank you so much, Pat. It's great to be here.
I have to ask you, what does it say on your T-shirt?
It says, "We'll trade racists for refugees." I think it's pretty topical given what's happening in Afghanistan right now, given how many people are going to need to be resettled. And so I think it's an important conversation to have really anytime, but I think especially now.
What was it about your own student experience in UCD that ultimately led you down this path?
Well, I'm so grateful to UCD because it's how I ended up in Chicago. I came to Chicago through the exchange program when I was studying law there. I just fell in love with the city, but also the legal profession here. And then I learned of the practice of immigration law shortly afterwards. And so I think every time I think of UCD, I'm filled with gratitude for the opportunity that brought me to Chicago, because it totally changed my life and my career.
You're here to accept the Alumni Award for 2021, but you do keep in close contact with UCD, don't you?
I do, yes. I've been the chapter chair of the Chicago alumni chapter here for a few years. And then I also try and keep in touch with UCD when I'm home. So I'd pop over for lunch and just to kind of see the campus, because a lot has changed since I left.
Yeah, it's changing very rapidly because I haven't been here myself for a couple of years, and it is dramatic how the campus is changing and constantly changing. Now, what would you say to the students of law here in UCD who have ambitions to make law work for them?
I think law can be so many different things to so many different people. There's not a one size fits all. And I think, it's a stressful career, right? Working as a lawyer, it's not easy, but it's so rewarding. And the work that I do, even like this morning, I just got a case approved for one of our clients. Getting to be part of that journey for somebody is so incredible. And that might not be what everybody wants. You may not necessarily want to practice. You could go into journalism, media. Like there's lots of different areas that you can kind of spring from with a law degree. But I think the most important thing is to find something that's satisfying and that is rewarding.
And finally, Fiona, what does this Alumni Award mean to you?
I really feel grateful that I have had the opportunity to get an amazing education, and that I am so really eternally grateful to UCD for all the opportunity that it gave me and all the support. So yeah, this is a huge honor of mine, and I'm just really grateful.
Well, Fiona, congratulations once again, and thank you very much for joining us from Chicago.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Well, it's been an intense year and a half for the Kildare woman and UCD graduate, Professor Theresa Lamb. She's been researching and developing vaccines for around 14 years prior to the coronavirus pandemic. She joined the Jenner Institute at Oxford University in 2009, which is devoted to the development of vaccines, most of her work going largely unnoticed by the general public. However, all of that changed in January 2020, when she was one of the team which was central to the rapid development of a vaccine that is now protecting the world from the deadly SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine has been shipped to 1 billion people worldwide. Let's hear from Professor Jez Simpson, Dean of Science.
We decided to choose Tess for this particular award because of her outstanding contribution in the field of vaccine research. We think the particular impact of her recent work, of course, is massive in the context of the COVID-19 situation. And of course, if we consider that now more than 500 million doses of that particular vaccine have been distributed around the world, I think this really highlights the impact of Professor Lam's work over the years. On behalf of UCD Science, we're delighted to be able to give this award to Professor Theresa Lam for her outstanding contribution to the field of vaccine development.
Thank you, Jez. Well, I'm delighted to welcome now the 2021 UCD Alumni Award winner in Science, Professor Theresa Lam, OBE. Tess, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much for having me here today.
Now, it's a pleasure for me to get together with you because I always wanted to meet someone who had the opportunity, literally, to save the world.
I don't know if I can bear that amount of praise on my shoulders. It's certainly been a team effort, and it's been a very exciting and exhilarating journey for the last 18 months. The team have worked fantastically hard to deliver this vaccine, and I'm really proud to be here today to accept it on behalf of the team, really, who enabled this work.
And of course, part of the package with the Oxford vaccine, as it was called then, was that it would be made available as cheaply as possible to the entire world.
Absolutely. And that was something that was very central to our dogma, to our belief. We make vaccines to have impact in low and middle income countries. So we really wanted to get this vaccine out to the globe. And we're really happy to see it being used all around the world.
Now, take me back to your time in UCD as a typical undergraduate, and it's great to see the undergraduates back on campus, this wonderful campus. I mean, your ambitions at that stage, did you have a global view or something much more local?
I would have to say I was far more local. I did both my undergrad and my postgraduate studies in UCD. I did my PhD in Professor Finian Martin's lab, and I have to say it is a time that I look back with great pleasure at. I made some of my strongest friendships and relationships while at UCD, and those friendships, relationships, and my partner have seen me through the last 20 years or so of my life. So it's a fabulous university and one I'm very proud to be part of the alumni of.
What would you say to today's science students in terms of what the world could hold for them?
I always wanted to see a translation of my research, and I followed my heart. I did things that I loved doing. And I think today's students and tomorrow's students, if you do that, you will be enabled to progress your ideas and hopefully make the world a better place. I think you need to work hard. There will be stumbling blocks along the way. You need to dust yourself off when you fall down, get back up, because it's only through mistakes that we really learn how to do things better. But have fun as well. It shouldn't all be about work. You should make friendships and partnerships and have the odd pint.
Finally, I should ask you what the award, the UCD Alumni Award for 2021 in Science, means to you personally.
It means an awful lot, and I'm really very proud and happy to have it here beside me today. It's not something that I ever thought I would be in a position to accept, so it has warmed my heart, and it's made me even more fond of UCD if that was possible.
Professor Theresa Lam, OBE. Tess, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for this award today.
The work of our next awardee is an inspiration. A human rights investigator, advocate, journalist and author, Katrina Palmer has drawn attention to the plight of people overlooked and marginalised through her work with the survivors of the Srebrenica massacre, the survivors of historical abuse in Ireland, and her documentation of the effects of climate change. An adoptee, Katrina is a frequent commentator on national and international media on the legacy of the secrecy and the shame generated by Ireland's closed adoption system. Let's hear from Professor Colin Scott, Dean of Social Sciences and Vice President for Equality, Diversity and Inclusion.
I'm delighted that the UCD Alumni Award in Social Sciences for 2021 is being presented to Katrina Palmer. Katrina Palmer is someone who used her education in UCD to advance her analytical skills, her writing and critical skills in a way she was then able to go on and further develop and advance her commitments to human rights, to social justice and to feminism through her writing and wider activity. A hallmark of Katrina Palmer's career has been using her investigative and writing skills to develop narratives
that enhance understanding and frequently require action and response. My warm congratulations to Katrina on this year's award.
Thank you very much, Colin. And we're joined now from Washington, D.C. by the 2021 UCD Alumni Award winner in Social Sciences, Katrina Palmer. Katrina, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Pat. It's such a pleasure to be here.
The field in which you labour, that of human rights, when I look around the world today, it seems like it's a bit of a losing battle.
I would certainly agree. I mean, there's so much tragedy and heartache around the world right now. But what gives me hope is certainly looking at young people today who are so inspirational in terms of human rights and social justice and humanity. And furthermore, universities like UCD who are educating these young people in social justice and compassion. So while things are pretty tough right now, I have a lot of hope.
Now, one of your major accomplishments was to co-author a book with our former president, former UN High Commissioner on Human Rights, Mary Robinson. What did that mean to you personally?
Well, it meant a huge deal. As a young person in the 1990s, Mary Robinson was a figure of extraordinary inspiration to me. So when years later Mary connected with me looking for a storyteller to help her write the book, it was not just the fulfillment of a professional aspiration, but a deeply personal one to work alongside her and to be inspired by her. She's a remarkable woman who is still working so hard to elevate the rights of people, especially young women and children.
Going back to your time in UCD, I mean, you've mentioned Mary Robinson as an inspiration, but what other inspiration did you find on this campus?
When I arrived in Belfield in the autumn of 1990, I felt a little lost. I was overwhelmed by the scale of the institution, but I very quickly found an enormous sense of community and connection at UCD. And most particularly, I found extraordinary inspiration from some academics, professors who worked as mentors with me and helped me. So I was not expecting that when I came to UCD, that there would be these professors who would take such an individual interest and inspire me on a future career.
Finally, I would ask you to turn your mind to the young undergraduates of today, perhaps following in your footsteps. What advice would you give them?
Well, I have 3 children, and I think I would give the same advice to graduates as I would to my kids, which is just to follow your heart. I know that may seem very simple, but it's certainly the approach I took to my life and to my career. And while it has not been easy, I think pursuing a passion, pursuing what makes you tick, what makes you feel alive is really the key to everything, and happiness and contentment will follow. So just really follow your heart.
On that note, Katrina, thank you very much for joining us from Washington, D.C. today.
Thank you, Pat. It's such a pleasure.
Our penultimate awardee is CEO and co-founder of Silicon Republic. It's an online science and technology news platform on the go since 2001. She's been an advocate and leader in ensuring the visibility of women role models in her industry. In 2015, she was the first woman to be inducted into the Irish Internet Association's Hall of Fame. Anne O'Dea also sits on the advisory board of Teen Turn, which empowers underrepresented young women through internships in major tech companies. A longtime champion of women and minorities in STEM, Anne is a leading speaker at international conferences and events on innovation, future of work, and inclusion. Let's hear from Professor Orla Feely, Vice President for Research, Innovation and Impact.
This year's recipient of the UCD Alumni Award in Research, Innovation and Impact is Anne O'Dea. Anne has been selected as the recipient of the award for this year because of her work in connecting the Irish technology sector, particularly through her work as CEO and co-founder of Silicon Republic, one of Europe's leading online technology news sites. I think that Anne's work through Silicon Republic and the events that she has led have really made the Irish technology sector a much more vibrant, a more connected and a healthier place. So I'm very pleased that Anne O'D is our recipient this year for the UCD Alumni Award in Research, Innovation and Impact, and I want to offer her my warmest congratulations.
Thank you very much, Orla. Now, joining me, the 2021 UCD Alumni Award winner in Research, Innovation and Impact, Anne O'D. Anne, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
You are no stranger to awards, but what does this particular award mean to you?
You know, it is funny, isn't it? There is something very special about getting an award from your own alma mater. I was almost a little bit taken aback how chuffed I was. I just was delighted. It's very special because I have great memories of UCD, so it means a lot.
Now, you have been an advocate for women in STEM particularly. Where did that passion come from?
Yeah, and I suppose it's even wider than women, though it started there. I would have always had a great sense of social justice, which I blame my parents for. But then I was working in science and technology, and it was really kind of annoying me a little bit to what extent it was a boys' club. And if you think about it, science and technology is literally the area where we're creating the future, and we're creating the products, the solutions to climate change, everything. And it just really struck me and my co-founder, Darren, that like if it was only going to be men making those decisions, we were going to end up with a very strange world. So that's where it started, I have to say. Work that people like myself and people like me are doing has made a big difference. So you'll see now things like BT Young Scientists, you've more than 50% of the entries are young girls now. So, you know, there is a sense that they're seeing more role models, and when they see the role models, they go, well, maybe I can do that.
Going back to your time in UCD, though, to what extent did you feel somewhat isolated as a student because you were a woman?
Yeah. Well, I was lucky, I suppose, that in my days in UCD, I did arts. So, and then I did a master's in theatre studies. So really, you know, I didn't feel in any way isolated.
That leap from being potentially a thespian to becoming a digital guru.
Well, I have to confess now, when I did my master's, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. I was still young and I adored theatre. So it was as much about, you know, learning at that time. I had done my standard degree, and then when I went on to do my master's, we ended up going to the theatre every week. We were putting on our own productions, and I just adored it. Then I fell into journalism, I suppose, through the writing and research that I would have done at college. But now I run big international events. So if you think about it, I spend half my time backstage. So, you know, it has stood to me. So there's always a connection, you know.
Nothing is ever wasted.
No,
that's what they say,
absolutely.
no matter what the experience might
And I
be.
tell students that all the time. No matter what you're learning, it doesn't mean that's what you have to do in life, but you're still learning, and it'll contribute to whatever you do.
Now, as we sit here in the UCD Club, all around us there are students on campus. Many of them, you look at the fresh faces embarking on their undergraduate degree, perhaps in first year. What advice would you have for them?
I mean, the biggest piece of advice I could give is to enjoy every moment of it. You know, university is the one time where you dedicate yourself to yourself, whether it's your professional development or your personal development. You will never get a chance in life again to spend that much time learning. And the other piece of advice I always give, whether it's in their studies or in their life when they leave, is to always aspire to excellence and not to perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. And it was always an issue with me when I was younger, trying to achieve perfection. And of course, you never do. So aspire to excellence, not perfection.
Anne O'D, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Quietly and without fuss, our final recipient has been instrumental in Leinster Rugby's great success over the past few years. The Wicklow man, former Blackrock College player, gained 32 Irish caps during his career and had the honour of captaining Ireland against Russia in Rotorua during the 2011 Rugby World Cup. He was appointed Leinster Rugby head coach in August 2015 and led the province to the top of the Guinness Pro 12 table and to the Pro 12 final. In his third season, he became the first man to win a Champions Cup title as a player and as a head coach, as he presided over a first ever Guinness Pro 14 and Champions Cup double for Leinster. Let's hear from Brian Mullins, UCD Director of Sport.
We're celebrating Leo Cullen as the Alumni Award in Sport for his leadership of Leinster Rugby in the position as captain of the team in 2011, 2012, when they won back-to-back Heineken Cup championships. And then again in 2018, when he had moved into the coaching role again, they retained the trophy. Leo Cullen's rugby career coincided with the game of rugby becoming professional. And he's one of the first to have led Leinster. The provinces of Ireland were challenged to compete at an international level for the first time in rugby history. So I'm particularly pleased that Leo is the recipient of the UCD Alumni Award in Sport in 2021.
Thank you very much, Brian. Well, we're thrilled to have him actually with us on campus, UCD Alumni Award winner in sport, Leo Cullen. Leo, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Pat.
Nowadays, you have academy players and they're trained like the professionals they will become. What was it like, though, back in the day in UCD? Was it crack?
Yeah, like we had a great time now, yeah, but you were still very serious about your craft, so to speak, like which is playing the game. So I left school in '96. Like if you think the game of rugby only really went professional after the World Cup in '95 and really in Ireland in '97.
Yeah.
So Mike Ruddock was Leinster's first professional coach in '97. So I would have been in university here at that stage, just finished year one in college. So I would have joined up and trained with the senior group at that stage, and like it was pretty full on.
Yeah.
But you're
A
juggling.
rude awakening.
Yeah, but like everyone's trying to find their way in professional rugby because guys are getting paid for the first time really after being amateur, and there was still that kind of a mix. So we were blessed in many ways because we were young and hungry and keen and all the rest.
For most people in rugby, it's a short career. Now, you have extended your rugby career because you're now a very serious coach. So what would you say to the students of today, the sports scholars, for example, in UCD, who are bent on a career in rugby?
For when they come into the academy, the study piece or some level of interest outside. So, the majority of our guys are studying, and they're high pressure university degrees that they're doing as well. And it's definitely a much more holistic approach we'd like to take on the individuals, making sure that their life after rugby is being taken care of. It's always important just to have that balance and to try things out as well. So try things out, dip your toe in the water, which is very much what college life should be about as well.
Sometimes it's maybe difficult for someone who excels in one area like rugby, and then they try their hand at something else, and they're not the best, at least they're not the best yet at this new thing, and they're kind of a bit nervous about that.
Sometimes it's easy to live that kind of monastic lifestyle. So it's training, go home, and you can hermit yourself away from the world a little bit. So it's important for guys to get out into the big bad world, and not to have this, when your career is over, that it's suddenly this big adjustment. And that's going back to even just compared to like a student here in college life. It's easy to bury your heads in the books and focus on your course. I think there's so many other parts of student life to experience, all the various different clubs and societies that there are. So, I think that would be my big message.
So finally, Leo, what does the award from UCD mean to you?
So for me, like the experience of being in UCD was amazing. I wouldn't say I was stellar grades now by any stretch of the imagination. But it's an unbelievable honour. Like, you walk around the campus, it's such an amazing place. So I'm sure there's been amazing scholars and sports people have come out of here. So to get an award is an amazing honour for me personally.
Well, you get straight A's in coaching anyway, Leo. Leo Cullen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, appreciate it.
It's finally my pleasure to introduce Mark McDonald, Acting Director of Alumni Development, to say a few closing words.
The UCD Alumni Awards is the most important occasion in the university's alumni calendar, a time when we celebrate just how central our alumni are to us and honour the significant contributions and impacts to society our alumni have made on the world stage. Congratulations to each of our 9 awardees this evening, and I would like to say how incredibly proud we are to count you as alumni. With over 295,000 graduates living in 184 countries around the world, we recognise that UCD alumni are the backbone of this great institution, and your successes, as well as your continued involvement with us, cements UCD's position as Ireland's leading global university. You play a pivotal role in UCD's ever-enhancing international reputation. Your success is our success. I look forward to celebrating your success on campus in 2022. To our friends, supporters, alumni and colleagues, thank you for sharing this special evening with us. I look forward to seeing you in O'Reilly Hall for the 2022 UCD Alumni Awards. Go raibh míle maith agam, Ihawa.